This is the BBC.
But first, the poet and radio maker John Osborne. We asked John to live like a stoic, but in a subversive move for Radio 3, to do as little research as possible.
This is called Those Are Big Houses. I've been going on long walks down the countryside roads that lead out of Norwich. And it's not long until you arrived at the thatched red lions and cricket pitches of the villages. A lady on a stepladder clips her conifers, using a gardening implement worth more than my Ford Fiesta. Next to her, a man with his arm in a sling struggles with the weeding. Life never stops throwing us these challenges. I've always liked looking at big houses in the country. I bet they've got comfy everything in there. Even the armchair in a room they no longer go in. This is where we'll read the Sunday papers, they said when they first looked around, and they did do once with croissants, but they haven't been back in there since. It's because of my heart I've been going on these walks. My GP was worried about irregularities and referred me to the cardiologist. It's probably nothing too serious, she said, but you never know. You can't take things for granted these days. No one would have predicted Michael Portillo would make such interesting shows about railways. And it won't be long until we all have driverless cars. It's a confusing world, dude, she said. Look after yourself. We're all here for you. Inside one of the big houses, I've heard the trumpet. Land of hope and glory, note perfect. Maybe a kid forced to practice before an exam. Do not move from that spot until you can play without sheet music. Or maybe it's someone in full military uniform, medals across the blazer, lots of time on their hands, recently retiring after 40 years at the post office, park benches dedicated to both sisters. I like where I live. I've been here a year now. The kitchen's a decent size. I've got a bath. And I put some nice posters in frames. There's not much room, but I'm no ballroom dancer. And if I did have a garden, despite best intentions, it would get the better of me. And I've got a corner settee and a big telly with BT Sports, so I can watch the Champions League. And the man in the flat directly above me snores. And at first I thought, this is ridiculous. How thin are these walls? But you learn to tolerate these things so quickly. There he goes again, fast asleep by 10:30. Snore away, my chubby neighbour. I've started working on something new. No one cares, but that's okay. As long as it's good, and I like it. I never get bored when I go on these walks. There are so many things to think about in the countryside. I've decided that when I die, I would like my ashes scattered at a cricket ground. It doesn't matter which one, all of them are beautiful. Apart from Headingley. We are so reliant on our brittle hearts to keep on pumping and not to hurt too much. And it must be nice to live in a house where you can play the trumpet as loud and as often as you like.
John, that was so good because it had so much quiet restraint, I guess is the word. So this is an account of a walk you really took.
Yeah.
To write the poem.
When you go on this walk, you kind of go from my flat and you progressively get nicer and nicer houses as you walk further away from my flat. And they get really beautiful, and it's quite interesting to just look at these houses and see what the people are up to.
And as you walked, knowing what you were going to be doing, did you find the actual act of walking made you put a stoic filter on the walk?
Yeah, I think so, but also I found it worrying how close to my general life that is anyway. Right. I think that is a natural way I find of looking at things, of like looking at these people. I guess I identify with a guy who had his arm in a sling who was doing the weeding. It's like he could just not do the weeding or get someone else to do the weeding. But he's like, no, I'm going to go out there and get those weeds.
There were certain ideas that spoke to me really powerfully and at the same time quietly. I like the idea of nobody expected that Michael Portillo would become a man. We all seem to enjoy that moment. Here's Michael Portillo reinventing himself.
They're good shows.
They are really good shows. Yeah, if you like trains, they're good shows.
Yeah.
Did any of the other parts of the the poem speak to anybody? We were all nodding along. Angie, bits that...
Yes, I think there's an air of quiet acceptance about it and enjoying the moment and being satisfied with what you've got.
I thought there was a tension in there, actually, that was kind of just bubbling away. I like the idea of the trumpet being practiced in the land of hope and glory, not sure who's playing it or quite why, and the room that was only used once, and the croissants and all that. It just felt like the poem was almost kind of one step away from being an outright suburban scream.
I don't know, I quite like the idea that there is something bubbling, something dark bubbling somewhere.
But I like the idea that you achieve a stoic outlook just by paying attention to things. So by paying attention, stoicism seems to land on you.
Yeah, it is fascinating how you have a word in your head and then suddenly everything makes sense. It's like that John Ronson line when he was writing about confirmation bias. He said, since I've heard about confirmation bias, I keep seeing it everywhere.